Good evening. The Eastham Conservation Commission will hold a hybrid public meeting on Tuesday, November 25th, 2025 at 6 p.m. pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, MGL Chapter 30A, Sections 18 to 25, Open Meeting Law, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, and Chapter 155 of the Code of the Town of Eastham. This meeting is being broadcast on Public Access Channel 8 and streamed on the town website at www.eastham-ma.org and on YouTube. It will be rebroadcast on Channel 8 and meeting videos will be available on YouTube. Before we begin, a quick reminder. While our meetings are relatively informal, the Commission uses a simplified version of Robert's Rules. The chair runs the meeting, and everyone should speak through the chair after being recognized. Please raise your hand if you wish to speak. We allow discussion between commissioners, staff, and applicants, and may extend that to abutters. For NOIs and RDAs, generally the applicant will present first, followed by discussion with the commission and staff. Once commission questions have slowed, abutters will have a chance to speak, followed by other members of the public as time allows. The chair may set time limits if needed. Please keep your microphone muted unless it's your turn to speak, and let the chair know if you plan to record the meeting. Most importantly, please be respectful of others so we can keep the meeting productive and focused. I'm going to take attendance and then we will begin. Janet Benjamins is not here tonight. Joanne Cossett.
Here.
Greg Douglas.
Here.
Mike Rivers. Mike Rivers.
I see him on screen.
Yes.
Here.
There you go.
Sorry.
Okay. Cinnamon Swabble.
Here.
Chuck Wagner.
Here.
And Karen Strauss. I am here. First up tonight, we have a public comment period. This is for anybody who wishes to make any brief comments or statements to the commission for items that are not on tonight's agenda. If you wish to speak, please make yourself known. Okay, and seeing no one, first up tonight is a request for determination of applicability filed by Nicole Patrica. Applicant proposes to remove 2 dilapidated sheds at property located at 20 Bridge Road, map 20, parcel 014. And is the applicant here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I'm going to ask if you wanted to just review your project for us before we start. And if you do, if you could just identify yourself for the record.
Okay, I'm Nicole Patrica. We own at 20 Bridge Road. There are 2 existing sheds on the property right now. One is fully dilapidated. The other is in really rough shape, about to fall down. So really, we just want to clean up the property and replace the existing sheds in the same exact area.
Okay, so
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
go ahead. You can finish.
One shed would be cedar shake siding and roof, 10 by 20. The other shed would be, that one's more in the woods, so it would be standing seam clapboard siding. And they really would be more, it's a historic home with not a lot of storage, and there's no garage. So we just want to be able to have our landscaping and bikes and all of that stuff. So.
Okay, so we were out there today, but looking at the application you filed, you filed for, in the description says specifically to remove 2 dilapidated sheds. You did not actually file for a permit to install 2 new sheds.
I did upload, you'll have to, I was a little confused on the process. I haven't done anything with conservation before. I did upload descriptions of the sheds. So I first thought that I had to only do the removal and then ask separately for the shed. So if I didn't do that properly, I can go back and.
So unfortunately, because you only included the um, tearing down of the sheds, the removal in the RDA application,
Yeah,
and that's what went out in the public legal notice.
okay,
That's all we can consider tonight, and that
okay.
to add new sheds, you'd have to file an additional RDA.
Okay, would it be possible for us to just start the cleanup, or should I just start
Yeah,
completely over?
so we can discuss the removal of the sheds today.
Yeah. Okay,
So and then you have a subsequent filing for the new sheds.
okay,
Okay. So we were out there today, and one shed's pretty clear. It's out in the open, easy to get to, and the other one has kind of imploded on itself, and it's in a lot of shrubbery and some trees. So we were wondering how you were planning to access the one that's in the shrubbery and so on to remove it.
we were going to try to limit any like cuttings. We own a farm here, so my husband, I'm not skilled in any of this, but he's very skilled with equipment and everything. So we were just hoping to get in there and get all of the garbage out. And then if we could it looked like at some point there was a path to the old shed, and just try to find that path and clean it up.
Okay, so if you're going to want to remove vegetation as part of a filing, you should include that description as well. So we're kind of wondering what vegetation you would need to remove or would like to remove in order to be able to access the shed, because we couldn't quite see anybody going in there and picking up pieces of the shed and trying to angle their way between the shrubs and so on.
Honestly, if there's a specific way that you would like us to do, or we would follow any rules, it seems like it's mostly like pricker growth, and I don't know vegetation names for that, and weeds and everything. So, just,
Okay.
I mean, there's so much dirt or garbage underneath that we're just really focused on getting it cleaned up.
Okay, so I think I would be okay with if you were wanting to propose removing a limited amount of vegetation to get access, that you could coordinate what that would be and how much with our agent
Okay.
after we finished the discussion and the permit is issued.
Okay. Would that
If the rest of the commission would be okay with that as
Okay.
well. So there were some small trees there and stuff, and then there were more shrubbery kinds of things. I didn't look closely enough to identify the plants this morning, but I think we would tend to want to keep trees a little more than shrubbery, which would probably grow back pretty easily. Okay, so I'm going to open it up to the commission. Any comments, questions? Joanne?
Yeah, so just to confirm, thanks, Karen. I agree with what you said and wanted to check in with the applicant. Sounds like this will be a human beings walking in and out, no equipment being used like a digger or something to remove vegetation or to clear a path. It's people walking in and out with pieces of the shed. Am I correct in that, or do you have a different plan?
It looks like there could be some larger like pieces of wood and everything that we might have to get we have a teeny skid steer we have a super teeny backhoe that we could drive in. It's hard to tell because there is so much overgrowth. We would limit as much, like if we would do the majority or all if possible by hand, but I'm not, without actually getting in it, I guess it's hard to totally say.
So I would say then, in the same vein of informing the agent about your plan, if the original plan is to try and do it all by hand, that's great. But if you reach a point where you need to use machinery or equipment, then you would need to flag that before doing any of that activity. That's all for me, Karen.
is Amy the agent? Who is
Oh,
the agent?
Alex Bates is the agent.
Sorry, I cut out for a second.
Alex Bates is our
Okay,
agent.
okay.
He's-
Oh, yes, okay. I recognize that.
He's on the call somewhere, but we haven't been seeing his face a lot in the Zooms lately
Okay.
because he's at town hall, but real friendly guy. So
Yes, I believe I'd emailed with him and they've been very helpful.
so anything else from the commission? Alex, anything from you?
I just wanted to note that well, I was going to go back to the flood zone issue, but if this is just for the demolition, then I don't have anything else to add. I'm comfortable meeting with the applicant to discuss any potential vegetation removal that would be needed for the removal of these two sheds.
All right, and I'm wondering now if maybe you and the applicant might also want to have a brief discussion about what's needed to file to install two sheds while you're having a conversation, just to make sure that next time we have all the information we need.
As far as which permit?
When they come back for a permit for two new sheds,
Yeah. Yes, I can provide them with guidance for that.
okay. All right, so we're looking here to limit the vegetation removal and to consult with Alex before removing any vegetation. And also to consult with Alex if you wind up needing to use mechanical equipment like a skid steer or your backhoe. And that otherwise, we have standard special conditions for decks and sheds, which require work notice to the Conservation Department 24 hours before any work is done. That construction debris shall be moved from the site in a timely manner. You're not going to be storing materials for here. So a lot of our draft ones for sheds are replacing them. So we usually require that you replace any vegetation in kind if you remove it.
Okay.
And I think that's it. So if we could have a motion with those conditions for a positive 2B, that the wetland boundaries are not confirmed, and a negative 3, that the work is within the buffer zone and will not alter areas within jurisdiction and does not require a notice of intent, plus the special condition as discussed.
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Mike,
Yes.
Chuck, Greg,
Yes.
Cinnamon,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
and I am a yes. So the department will mail you a permit, or I guess you could pick it up. And okay, then thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have a request for determination of applicability filed by James Gawley. Applicant proposes to abandon a cesspool, grading, and to construct a retaining wall at property located at 75 Pilot Road, map 11, parcel 370. And Jason, is this you?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Can hear you just fine, Jason.
yes, we can.
Okay. Yep, so this is Jason Ellis representing James Galley. What they're looking to do is what facilitated this project is they're looking to finish off the basement and create a walkout basement on that northwest side of the building where the bulkhead is now. The house is currently served by a single cesspool. And what we're doing is upgrading the septic system with a nitrogen reducing system, which would be all outside the buffer zone. The cesspool currently exists inside the buffer zone, so that would be abandoned in place. And so there would be some regrading that would occur on that northwest side of the building. So we'd be lowering that grade, taking that fill out to lower that, so there could be a walkout on that side of the property. And there would be 2 retaining walls that would be built. The biggest retaining wall would be outside the buffer zone around the septic system. And then there'd be a smaller one that's on the little bump out on the back of the property there that would curve around, and just to retain the grade that's existing around the backside of the property, the backside of the house. So it's just slightly within the 100-foot buffer zone to the flood zone. There's no trees coming down. The area would be revegetated with a conservation grass seed mix in that disturbed area. So it would go back to the condition that it is now afterwards. So it's pretty straightforward project. Not a lot of disturbance there. So.
Mhm. Okay, so we were out there for a site visit. Mike, is there anything you want to share with us about site condition?
The grade was, as you can see from the topo, the grade was pretty steep all the way down to the edge of the property. The 100-foot line is at the top of that grade. And so I did have some concerns about what types of protection for that grade you were gonna plan on, Jason.
It's actually going to be where we're doing the regrading is actually going to be flatter than what it is now.
Gotcha. Okay.
So up around the house it'll be fairly flat, and that would be that's what kind of facilitates putting in the retaining wall. So that area where the septic system is and around that back side would be instead of sloping like it is now, it would be flat and it would be lower. So we're not going to be increasing the grade down towards the wetland at all. It'll be, if anything, it'll be reducing the grade, the slope down to the pond. So.
Thank you.
Sure.
I do have a couple of questions. The cesspool, what's the plan with that? I think we might like to have it removed entirely, but what was your plan? It didn't really specify on the filing.
Typically, we just pump them and fill them and compact them in place. It's kind of under the corner of that patio there. I'd be reluctant to dig that out only because it might compromise the structure of that covered patio porch area there. It would probably be best to just leave it in place and just pump it out and then fill it with clean sand and compact the sand in there so that it doesn't become a hazard in terms of collapsing or anything like that. So.
Okay, so we need to note that on the plans or perhaps in the order of conditions.
Yeah, that's actually on the second sheet of the plan of the septic system design.
Oh, did I miss that?
Yeah, it should be.
Then I apologize. We have a
That's
couple
okay.
of septic ones, cesspool ones tonight that I've gotten them a little confused all day. So, okay. All right then. Any other questions from the commission? Okay, so if we might have a motion for a positive 2A, that's the boundary delineations of the resource areas are referenced in the plan are accurate, and a -3, work is in the buffer zone, will not alter, etc., with special conditions for septic and sewage upgrades. And a second?
Seconded.
Okay. Mike?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
Cinnamon?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
And I am a yes.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next is request for determination of accessibility filed by John Kelly. Applicant proposes driveway access to Joanna Lane, a property located at 723 State Highway, map 21, parcel 028E. And Laura,
Good evening. Yes, for the record, I'm Laura Schofield. I'm from Schofield Brothers, and I'm representing John and Laura Kelly, who are the applicant and owner of 723 State Highway. This is a residential property, and we filed a request for determination of applicability for the purpose of asking the commission to agree with the boundary of the wetland area that we've shown on our plan that was submitted with our application. In this case, we're saying that a man-made drainage ditch in the vicinity of an existing grassy path that leads from the house on the property down to Johanna Lane is the edge of the jurisdictional wetland, and that the low spot within that path is just that. It's a low spot in the topography. There are jurisdictional wetlands on the northerly side of the property associated with another man-made drainage ditch. But the area within the grassy path does not show up on the USGS quad sheet or the DEP wetland change maps or a subdivision plan from the 1990s. And so the area that we're talking about tonight is that low spot on the southerly part of the property within the grassy path to Johanna Lane. And we're here tonight because that area has been called the wetland in the past. In 2000 and 2002, during the permitting for the single family dwelling, on the lot that's there today, it was called the wetland during that permitting process. And so Felco had called the immediate low spot a wetland. And then later during the permitting process, independent environmental consultants had expanded the wetland line further to the south and fattened it out a little bit to the east and west. So at that time, during the permitting, the area within that expanded wetland delineation was said to have greater than 50% of freshwater wetland vegetation, specifically soft rush and sensitive fern being the dominant plant in the herbaceous layer and being the wetland indicator species. So this is an existing residential building site that's been altered in the past. It was altered, the area has been altered for the road construction, for the ditch construction, installation of utilities around the cul-de-sac, and quite possibly and probably was altered even more than that the farther you go back in the past. And all that is to say that it makes it difficult sometimes to figure out what's going on when you have that much alteration of the landscape. However, since the house was permitted, 23 years have gone by, and the homeowner has asked us to reevaluate the wetland situation because they'd really like to be able to have a driveway exiting onto Johanna Lane instead of Route 6, which is the current situation. So updating that wetland line and knowing that the commission agrees with our determination is the starting point of that project, and that's why we're here tonight. So I've been going out there for about 2 years now, and in the spring, there is perched water at or very near the surface of that low spot. There's about a 2-foot layer of a thick, dark, sandy loam material there. And that material sits on top of a tight layer of silt loam. So between the precipitation in the spring, the fact that this is the low spot of the surrounding area, and combined with that impervious layer of silt loam underneath the sandy loam, you get a situation where that low spot it does hold water in the spring, providing hydrology for a certain amount of time during the spring, depending on the year. We know the water here is perched because if you review the soil test logs that were done during the permitting of the house, some of the test holes also show perched water on top of a silt loam layer. But then a lot of the test holes also show a groundwater table 15 to 20 feet below grade, depending on where you were on the site. So if you look at the soils at the low spot, they're hydric, and since the water ponds there in the spring, that would be expected. So that's 2 out of the 3 criteria that you would normally need to call something a wetland. But you also need a wetland plant community. And that means a plant community that's made up of greater than 50% of wetland indicator plants. And you don't see that here anymore. According to the permitting history, you had that situation 23 years ago, supposedly. But when you evaluate the plant community today, using DEP's bordering vegetated wetland forms, you do not have a wetland plant community in this low spot area within the grassy path. You still can note a few of the soft rushes and a little clump of sensitive ferns that are left over from the past, but they're definitely not the dominant plants in the herbaceous layer. There's a few viburnums in the shrub layer and a single winterberry, but those shrubs are far outnumbered by the honeysuckle, privet, and multiflora rose. So when you do the evaluation forms, they have you evaluate the vegetation 3 different ways. There's the rapid test, and that is, are all dominant plants here obligate or FAC wet? And in this case, the answer is no. So then you would go to the dominance test, where you identify the dominant plants in each of the plant stratums, and then you ask the question, are there more dominant wetland plants here than non-wetland plants? And the answer again here is no. And then there's the prevalence index, where you evaluate the plant indicator species by the total percent cover of all the stratums. And in this case, the prevalence indicator is not less than or equal to 3. And so once again, the answer here is no. So all 3 methods of evaluation here do not support meeting the criteria for having a plant community that is greater than 50% of wetland indicator plants. And if you look at some of the adjacent areas that were within the wetland delineation back in the early 2000s, right now it's a sea of upland invasives with honeysuckle and the multiflora rose. So the plants have had 23 years to move in and decide for themselves if the area stays wet long enough to be considered a wetland. And it would seem that nature has decided that it is not a wetland based on the plants that are growing there and using the DEP criteria for delineating a bordering vegetated wetland. And so tonight we're asking the commission to agree with us that the drainage ditch, which is a little bit further north in that area and is shown on our plan, is the edge of the wetlands in this portion of the lot. And we're not asking the commission to confirm the wetland line anywhere else on the property, just here near the cul-de-sac where we'd like to pursue the permitting of a gravel driveway. And obviously we'd be back before you once we have that design worked out.
Thank you, Laura. So 4 of us were out there today with Alex to look at the site, and you took us through us. And I'm pretty satisfied with the information you've given us and what we've seen out at the site. So I don't have any questions here. I'm going to ask if anybody else on the commission wants to speak, and I see Greg has his hand up.
Yeah, Laura, I was just curious, on the dominance test, you mentioned it's greater than 50% or less than 50%. What was the actual number?
Let me tell you. It's in the information that I submitted.
I mean, was it 49 or was it like 30?
So there were 7 dominant plant species And there was one dominant species that's a wetland indicator plant.
Okay.
So
Thank
it
you.
wasn't really close.
No, it wasn't even close. All right, thank
Yeah.
you. And is there, I'm just asking this question out of curiosity, is there any kind of engineering structure for a driveway that could be used in this area that would minimize any impacts that it might have if it were, quote, a wetlands?
When we come back to the commission, if everyone agrees with our wetland line, that's my starting point for this. And we'd like our gravel driveway there, but we'd also like to protect the area and also leave it better than we found it. So we'll definitely be back, and we're definitely planning on doing everything that we can to protect the area that's there, because we are going to be within 50 feet of that drainage ditch.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, anybody else? Chuck,
Well-
if you could speak up a little bit.
I'll try. Laura, I'm wondering about how a gravel driveway is going to perform in this possibility that impermeable silt that's down there is sort of a bowl shaped, and you've managed to find the center of the bowl. And I wonder if, as you put the driveway through, if excavating down to the top of that and filling with something that's impermeable such that water that comes down into the driveway runs off on either side and doesn't pool underneath the gravel might be a good idea, because otherwise, as you drive over it, it's just going to alligator out on either side, and you're going to end up with a low spot full of gravel that you're going to have to keep filling every year after the winter.
Okay, but that's not our filing before us tonight, Chuck.
Well, I'm right. I understand that, but I'm just saying in advance. I'd like to have a little bit of insight as to what they think they're going to do, and how they think a gravel driveway will perform going over this spot without some alteration.
We definitely need to address all that, and we will when we come back. And I agree with you that we're going to have to address that in our filing.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks.
And anybody else? Okay, so if we might have a motion for a positive to A, that the boundary delineations described in the reference plan are confirmed as accurate.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Seconded.
Okay, Mike,
Yes.
Cinnamon,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Okay, thank you, Laura.
Thanks, everybody. Good night. Oh, happy Thanksgiving too.
Happy Thanksgiving.
You too. All right, next we have a continuation of request for determination of applicability filed by Gail Badukian. Applicant proposes to flush cut 23 invasive Japanese black pine trees and planting beach grass at property located at 18 Horton Way, map 07, parcel 493A. And the applicant has requested a continuance until December 9th, 2025. So if somebody could make that motion. And a second, please.
Move to
Second.
continue this until, this case until December 9th, 2025.
And a second,
Second.
please. Okay,
Second.
thank you. Okay.
Can I
Joanne,
ask a question? Can this stay on our agenda forever?
well, generally, they're allowed to go on for about 2 years without any progress. After that, we can say enough's enough, but we're not close to that yet.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we have having a motion and a second. We're gonna vote. Cinnamon,
Yes. Sorry.
Greg,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Okay, next we have an extension permit filed by Town of Eastham for SE 19-1762 for the use of pickup trucks and continued ATV use by shellfish growers to access grants during the months of October 1st through May 31st at property located at 1620 Samoset Road, 0 Governor Prince Road, map 16, parcel 025 and 012. Okay, so anybody here to speak on this? Okay, so, sorry, Alex, did you?
I can speak to this. You know, as the commission saw, the Natural Resource Department requested a 3-year extension to this order. This has been pretty standard practice going back a number of years. So I certainly would recommend that the commission approve this extension of the order. I'll note that Karen and I did discuss that at some point it may make sense to close this out with a certificate of compliance. If that doesn't happen, or that's not happening tonight, but perhaps during the next, after this 3-year period, it may be appropriate to close that out with the certificate and then have ongoing conditions for the continued access out to the shellfish grants.
Yeah. It seems like they're doing very well, sticking to the conditions, and there haven't been any issues. So it seems like it might be appropriate next time around to issue an order of conditions.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, a certificate of compliance.
Certificate of compliance. Yeah, I mean, over the last couple of years with my communications with natural resources, you know, the growers have remained in compliance with the conditions of this permit. And, you know, in my opinion, I think the commission would agree that it's been an overall success.
Mhm.
And we do have
So,
Nick Sanders with us tonight too. I
Okay,
see he's got his hand up.
So Nick, please.
Yes, hi, I'm with Natural Resources, the Shellfish Constable. Just wanted to reiterate what Alex said. We haven't had any issues with the growers and the access with the marked path.
Okay. So I think the next phase in 3 years would be to submit for a certificate of compliance so that we have continuing conditions and not have to come back every 3 years.
Yes,
So-
that would be beneficial. Yeah. We've amended the order of conditions a few times, but we've gotten to the point where there's not much more we can add or change. So the certificate would be good in 3 years.
Okay, so if you do want more changes between now and when you apply for the certificate of compliance, you should put in for those before you apply for the certificate of compliance.
Right.
If you do it, just noting, if you do it afterward, then we have to have a whole new filing.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah. Okay, any questions from the commission? Comments? Chuck?
Let's make sure that this specific topic gets into the minutes so that if someone wants to look back and find out if we've discussed granting the certificate of compliance, that it's in the record.
Okay, I'm sure it will be, but the future commission in 3 years isn't actually beholden to any decisions we make or discussions we have tonight. Just noting. Okay, so if we could have a motion to grant the extension permit for SE 19-1762 for 3 years.
So moved.
And a second?
Second,
Joanne?
yes.
Cinnamon?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
And I am a yes. So we are done. Thank you, Nick. And let's see, next up we have certificate of compliance filed by Martha Halley, SE 19-1656 for Vista pruning at property located at 215 Mary Chase Road, map 18, parcel 084. And we were out there for a site visit, and I'm gonna see if Greg, you might want to take us through what we saw at the site visit.
Sure. We visited this property this morning to review the pruning that had been performed in the Vista where Fort Hill is. And we were a little surprised. We were expecting to see pruning, and it looked like that the work had been more of a flat topping of the plantings, and it was pretty aggressive in our opinion, I think, in terms of the amount of material that was cut. And we had some questions with regards to whether the amount of cutting was more than the 20% of the total plant material, as was listed in the order. So again, the point is we did think it was a little bit aggressive and something we should talk about.
Okay. So, is the applicant here tonight? Oh, sorry, Alex, go ahead, you first.
I'll just note, as Greg mentioned for the record, let me find it. Condition 26 does limit any pruning to 20% of the total height, whether it be the shrubbery or the trees. We did note that there were cedar trees and black cherry trees that were significantly pruned back. So that gave us some pause, as Greg mentioned this morning during our site visit.
So I was wondering if that applicant might be here tonight and might want to speak to that. But I don't see them on the call. So
hello.
having
Who are you referring to? This is David Henkel. I just joined the call.
This is 215 Mary Chase Road.
No. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I did join late. I just had my son come home from college.
Okay. So we're not quite up to you yet.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think the question here is what we want to do about the certificate of compliance and whether we want to issue a certificate of compliance with ongoing conditions. And having thought it over during the day, I'm wondering if we did want to ask the homeowner, the applicant, about what went on with the pruning, or whether we wanted to consider issuing a certificate of compliance, but without ongoing conditions, because we did have concerns about the work that was being done and would like to be able to monitor future work a little more closely than continuing conditions might allow. Alex?
I've also thought about this a little bit further as well, and I may recommend that the commission perhaps continue this to the next meeting, and we can have the property owner join us for this conversation.
Does that seem? I see some nodding of heads.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I think if we could have a motion to continue this to the December 9th meeting.
Motion to continue to December 9th meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Greg?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Cinnamon?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Okay, the next is administrative review filed by Chris Waltz. Applicant proposes to construct and install an osprey nesting pole at property located.
Karen, if I may.
Oh, yeah.
I think we did accidentally skip one,
Oh,
certificate
I
of
skipped,
compliance.
I skipped Sherwood, didn't I?
Yes.
Oh, it's all the way at the very top of the agenda right at the, okay, so let's do that. Certificate of compliance filed by Gerald Tarantina, SE 19-1364 for the construction of a 1-2-3+ stone revetment for 2 existing dwellings at property located at 14 and 12 Sherwood Road, map 13, parcel 133D through R and 133E through R. Okay, and before we start, is somebody here to speak to this tonight?
I am. I've Chuck Rowland, Cape and Islands Engineering. I'm sure you have all received my certificate of compliance requests, specifically with the request for the reduction in nourishment. I've talked to Alex, and I don't think I need to go through this whole thing, seeing as how you guys have essentially read this for another hearing, where we did have a reduction in nourishment for 20 Sherwood Road. But additionally, there's 2 extra vertical feet on the beach. This is likely due to the additional nourishment that is above and beyond what the calculated erosion rate is by the CZM. So the nourishment rate was 1.5 feet per year. And when I redid the calculations, when we look up the erosion rates now, the short-term erosion rates are between 0 and 1 foot per year, and then the long-term erosion rates are 0.6 feet per year. And so when you calculate it out, it's a dramatic reduction.
I think I'm going to actually stop you there because you're requesting a certificate of compliance. So a certificate of compliance is meant to look at whether the conditions of the order of conditions was complied with in the construction of the revetment. It's not the opportunity to ask for a change in the order of conditions. That would be a separate filing for an amended order. But I do want to ask you, because we didn't see this in the filing, that this was an order of conditions written in 2009, and I wanted to ask if there were any extensions asked for and issued that you know of for the order of conditions.
Not that I know of, no.
Okay, so that further complicates things in terms of changing the order of conditions, because the order of conditions actually expired a long time ago.
Correct.
So and a certificate of compliance hasn't been issued. So technically, you've been nourishing without a valid order. So we can clear that up tonight, because we can grant the I think we can grant the certificate of compliance. We can talk about what was observed at the beach during the site visit, but my understanding is that the revetment looked really, really good, but we can't change conditions, but we can issue an order with the same amount of nourishment, and that would put you into compliance for being able to nourish this year. If you wanted to have a change in nourishment, you'd have to come back with a notice of intent to discuss that.
So just to be clear, you would like us to no longer nourish the beach until we have...
Well, we can give you a certificate of compliance with a continuing condition to nourish the beach at the amount that's in the original order. We can do that tonight, and that'll clear things up. But just to be clear that you haven't actually had a open order for a long time here.
Yes, we're well aware. I was
okay.
I'm just doing kind of the same exact thing that we did for 20 Sherwood, in my opinion. So I thought that I was kind of going along with what we had done in the past and what this commission had accepted. So it's my mistake if I misunderstood that.
Okay, well, in a certificate of compliance, it's meant to look at how the work complies with the OOC and not to make changes within that. But since the order has expired and has been expired for a while, we can't actually make changes in any case because we can
Okay.
only make changes to an open order. So if we can do a certificate of compliance tonight with the continuing conditions you requested, just not a change. And then if you want to come back with a notice of intent to discuss a change in the amount of nourishment, we can do that.
Great.
Okay,
I believe
so,
that there might be somebody that is part of the association that might have a comment or question that's at town hall tonight.
okay, so that was going to be, let's have them make any comments they'd like, and then I'll ask the commission for any additional comments. So if they might like to identify themselves and
Sure.
come on
Hi.
camera.
Hi. Good evening. I don't know if I'm on camera, but my name is Ted Miller, and I am at the town hall tonight. And I'm at number 12 Sherwood Road, and it was nice seeing everybody this morning. So thank you for coming out. There might be so I think that all sounds totally logical, and so for number 12 and number 14. It sounds like from your site visit, although you haven't stated that here tonight yet, but it sounds like from the site visit, you saw things were in very good order and that we'd be able to close out that certificate of compliance for the work that was done 15 years ago or so. And then also I'm understanding that we should go ahead and do the renourishment for this year at the past amounts, and that all makes a lot of sense too. There is one slight question, which is I think it has to be done by the end of November, and that's this Sunday. So I'm not sure that they can bring the sand down onto the beach come the first week in December, but I'm not quite sure about that. But anyway, go ahead.
Oh, you finish, and then I'm going to ask Alex to kind of weigh in.
Okay. So anyway, for number 12 and number 14, that sounds great. Let's get the certificate of compliance completed. And we fully understand that for this year, we renourish at what has been the past amounts. So that all sounds very good. The only slight additional comment is that for cottages number 16 and 18, they actually they're requesting a lessening of the sand renourishment, but they did get their certificate of compliance, 15 years ago.
Right,
yeah.
And they're on the agenda for later,
For later. My apologies. Okay, my apologies.
And we'll have a discussion on that because that's a different set of circumstances.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. So for 12 and 14, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
So Alex, there was a question in there that maybe you can address.
Can we get the sand renourishment?
And so this is nourishment. Is this last year's nourishment?
Oh, no, it's this year's 25,
This year's.
which is either normally in April or in November. But we didn't do it because we thought we might get the lessening of sand.
Okay.
And now we're kind of out of time. So we could either do twice in next April, or unless they can come and do it next week or something.
Okay. My understanding with the nourishment, it runs, the October to April. And so if nourishment wasn't done between October and April of this past nourishment season, in my mind, this would be last year's nourishment that you're putting down this year.
Good. We can figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, we can discuss that perhaps after the meeting. But
yeah, we just want to remain compliant.
We would want to make sure that you're caught up on.
Yeah, we just want to remain compliant is also. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to ask anybody on the commission have any questions, comments? Okay, so we're looking to do a certificate of compliance for SE 19-16. Oh, sorry. I have the wrong thing in front of me. Okay. Certificate of compliance for SE 19-1364. And sorry, I did not have that open in front of me. And you're looking for continuing conditions. It's been a very long day. Apologies. Okay. Okay, so you're looking for continuing. Okay, I think my brain just exploded. I
All
apologize.
right. Would you like me to read out the ongoing conditions, Karen?
Yes, please.
Okay. I would recommend ongoing conditions for 24, the stabilization plantings, 25, the annual beach nourishment requirement. 28, ongoing maintenance, and then 29 is beach access. So it'd be those 4 ongoing conditions is what I would recommend the commission issuing tonight.
Okay, so if we might have a motion to approve a certificate of compliance for SE 19-1364 with ongoing conditions number 24, 25, 28, and 29.
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Chuck?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Cinnamon?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Okay, so we are
Thank you.
done with this. Thank you. And
If I may, Karen?
yes.
Would the commission be open to, since we're on the topic of nourishment, would it make sense to discuss 16 and 18?
I was just going to suggest that myself. So
Okay.
would you all be okay with that? Okay. So we've received a letter about changing the nourishment for 16 and 18 Sherwood Road. And I think the same person is going to be discussing that tonight.
Good evening, Chuck Rowland, Cape and Islands Engineering. Thank you for taking me out of turn. Like I said before, unless you really feel like it, I was going to skip going through the whole letter, but essentially the erosion rate for the current property was using 1.5 feet per year. And we feel that it's closer to 0.6 feet per year. There's an ongoing condition 26 for 183 cubic yards, and with mitigation of 33 cubic yards, which gave a total of storage capacity of I think that number is wrong. 183 and 33 is 116 cubic yards sand of sand placed. There was also some discrepancies in this one, as number 20 was also part of this order, but they ended up getting their own order, so that is kind of taken out. So when you use the height of the revetment and 6 feet, you get to about 56.2 cubic yards.
Okay, so I probably should just interrupt here, because what I'm seeing is that you already have a certificate of compliance for this.
Yes, ma'am.
So in order to change the nourishment amount, we will need a new notice of intent.
Perfect.
And I hope when you file the notice of intent that you kind of clear up where number 20 is in this and how it fit into the original calculation.
I will definitely do my best. In my opinion, it was not overly clear as the for the sand compensatory storage. Actually, in the plan, it called for 253 yards placed per year under this order. So we can, and I guess at some point there was some agreements made about different nourishment amounts. So we will try to decipher exactly what happened during the filing and what happens subsequently with number 20, as well as come up with a reasonable number for 16 and 18. So is this something that this commission would at least entertain, or change, filing for new nourishment amounts? Has that been done before, or?
Well, we have had several requests for changes in nourishment in the last year, so we have given some of those.
Okay.
So before we move on, I'm going to ask if anybody on the commission has any questions or anything. Okay, I don't see any. Okay, so whenever you're ready and you want to come back with that, be happy to discuss it.
We'll work on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Now we're at Goody Hallett. All right. Administrative review filed by Chris Waltz. Applicant proposes to construct and install an osprey nesting pole at property located at 330 Goody Hallett Drive, map 20, parcel 024. And welcome back.
Hello. Thank you, Chris Waltz. So just like the one I filed for last month, this is the same design, same method of installation. This one is for there was some birds trying to nest on some Eversource equipment unsuccessfully. The property owner agreed to allow a pole on their property in the marsh. It'll also be a supplemental pole for Wildcare to place orphaned ospreys, because generally if there's a orphaned nest, then there are multiple chicks and you can't put more than one in any existing nest, depending on how many chicks are in that current nest.
Okay. That sounds pretty cool, actually. A place for orphaned osprey chick. So we were out for a site visit. I'm going to ask Greg if he might want to just run through that and see if anybody has any questions or comments for you.
No, it seemed like a good place for it. And the question was, where are you going to put it exactly?
So looking from the backyard, it's slightly off to the right, which I guess would be more south, but there's a little bit of higher marsh nearer to the creek there. I always want to try to put it on higher ground rather than anything that's fully inundated and softer. So that's as close as I can get. Once I get feet out onto the marsh, then I check for stability before I put the pole in.
Okay. So it would be to the right as you go out and away from the river.
Yes. Well, it'll be closer to the river, but it'll be on high. It'll be
high point. Yeah.
Yeah. The highest point I can find out in the marsh.
Great. All right. That's all I had.
Okay. And any other questions? Mike?
Yeah, Chris, thanks for coming back on, and I'm excited about this project too. I hope somebody's thinking about how to put a camera out there. That would be really neat, so we see the chicks, right? The question I had is, how are you going to get out there? Are you going to go through the backyard and go down that hill right there? Is that the egress? Are you going to take any heavy machinery?
He said there is like a right-of-way access to one side or the other, whichever one's a little easiest to go through. I don't plan on doing any cutting or anything. It's just kind of force our way through whatever's the easiest path.
How do you actually get the poles down there? You put them on a truck or something that takes them down?
Carry them.
Carry them? Okay. All right.
Everything's done by hand.
Thanks very much. It's great.
So I do have one question, and it's, I guess, not completely related to the filing. I was wondering if you have any information on what the carrying capacity for the area is to house these ospreys. Like how
It's
many
unlimited.
can we support here?
It's unlimited. The highest density right now is in the Falmouth area, into Barnstable, and they're pushing east. I'm getting more calls in Eastham and Outer Cape than I've ever seen or heard about, which is good. But there's also the collapse of the population down in the New Jersey area. I guess just the bait fish for them are just not there. They're moving to colder water. They're moving up. So I think our population is just going to keep growing.
And we have the fish, et cetera, to support a bigger population, is what you're saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, the food is there. If the food is there, then they'll produce a lot more chicks. If the food isn't there, then they'll be unsuccessful at raising every egg that they lay. And yeah, some of the problems with the osprey population growing is they nest on Eversource and utility infrastructure or private homes. So by putting poles in a marsh, it helped the population bounce back originally in the 70s and early 80s. Now this is just how many property owners do we get to agree to put poles in? And mostly I do it as when there's an issue or existing issues, not just putting them up because people want them all the time. It's how dense is the area? Are we seeing problems with them nesting on chimneys or telephone poles rather than trees?
Okay, because who wouldn't want an osprey pole in their eye line?
Grilled cheese. Sweet potatoes.
Hillary, I think you need to mute.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. So any other questions? All right. If we might have a motion to approve with special conditions for osprey poles.
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Okay. Joanne?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
Cinnamon? And I am a yes. So good luck.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Next we have an administrative review filed by Donald Connolly. Applicant proposes to remove existing decks and install new framing, synthetic deck boards and railings, and remove panels from an existing shed and install 3 new sidewalls on the garage at property located at 70 McGurty Road, map 07, parcel 437. Somebody here to speak to this? Okay.
Good evening, folks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, folks. Yes, I'm here to represent the Keene residents at 70 McGurty Lane.
If you could just state your name and
That's-
so on for the record.
My name is Donald Connolly, and I own the construction company J.C. Donald Company.
Thank you. Would you like to just do a real quick run through of the project for us?
Sure. Basically, there's an existing deck that we're going to be removing and replacing. I apologize, the wording on the application had said 3 sides of the garage were to be built of some manner, but it's basically 3 sides of the garage will have the white cedar. Actually, there's T11 on the sides of the garage, texture 111, that will be removed and replaced with white cedar shingles. I think there was a little misunderstanding that may have been why I'm here at the board tonight. It was actually just replacing existing elements that are on the building as it stands.
Okay. So we were out at this site today, and maybe Mike, you want to take us through what the conditions were?
Sure. The photographs on the application are actually very accurate. You can see in the middle, there's a garage with wood on it. And I guess I have a question now that you've just brought up that you're going to put shingles, how you're going to do that. But more importantly, to the left, you see white panels. Those are white plastic corrugated panels. And if those are removed, what's going to replace that?
The owners actually basically just want to remove those panels behind the garage. I understand what area you're talking about. We're basically just removing those fluted panels, those clear plastic panels, leaving the existing framing. We're actually not doing any work at all at that area. It's basically just installing, I believe it's 3 new windows on the existing garage, removing the Texture 111, installing some new 1/2-inch sheathing, white cedar shingles, a new rubber roof will be installed. And then obviously we're removing the existing deck that's there now and railing and replacing it with a new deck matching the exact same footprint, new railing and new synthetic decking. And I believe we do have 2 footings that we're installing as well. We weren't sure of the 2 existing footings that were there, so we're going to install 2 new 12-inch concrete footings for the structure of the deck.
Okay. Anything else, Mike?
No, nothing from me.
Okay. Anybody else? So I did want to ask, the materials that you're using, where are you planning to stage and do any cutting?
Fortunately, we have the driveway that's to the left of the property where most of or I should say all the material will be dropped. We're trying to stay free and clear of the back portion of the property. So we'll have all the material set on the existing driveway to the left of the property, do all our cutting there, and we're trying to stay out of the critical areas in the back.
So we'd like to condition it that you in fact do that. So I'm glad to hear that you're planning on it. But
Sure,
I think
understood.
we'll include it in the conditions as well. I don't have any other questions. So I think if we might have, unless there's any other questions from anybody else, if we might have a motion to approve this with special conditions for decks and sheds, adding a condition that the cutting and so on should be in the driveway, and cutting and staging should be in the driveway.
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Okay, Mike,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
Cinnamon,
Yes.
and I am a yes as well. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, folks. Have a good evening.
Okay, next we have administrative review filed by Joseph Mistretta. Applicant proposes to remove a small tree to allow equipment access at property located at 45 Mallard Lane, map 13, parcel 099. And I don't think anybody needs to discuss this much. Maybe Cinnamon, if you just want to run through us with,
Sure, it's a
with the tree
small
and
black-
vegetation.
Sure. It's small black oak, maybe 15 to 18 feet high. Nothing else close by. Simple removal of a tree. It is diseased. Not that I think that would make a difference in removing it, but I see nothing that would need any more attention.
Okay. Any questions from the commission? I think, Alex, you had said that the property owner is willing to do a replacement for the tree.
Yeah, the property owner was in the office the other week, and expressed willingness to do a one-to-one replacement for the removal of this tree.
Okay, so if nobody has any questions, if we could have a motion to approve the administrative review with the replacement of a one-to-one with a tree and special conditions for tree pruning and removal.
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Chuck?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Cinnamon?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Okay, and next we have continuation of administrative review filed by David Henkel. Applicant proposes to remove some invasive plant species, privet, bittersweet, olive, etc., and to trim native species, choke cherry, etc., that are extremely overgrown at property located at 35 Bayberry Lane, map 13, parcel 159. And I know David is on the call here. Is there anything you want to run through with us before we talk about our site visit and what we've seen?
No, just that, you know, we're new to the property as about 5 years ago. I know that it appears as though the previous owner had not trimmed or maintained the front yard area for, you know, seems like many years, if not decades. And, you know, we're simply looking to make the front more amenable to the native species by taking out some of the invasive plants that are in the front. Right now, things, you know, with the leaves off, it probably doesn't look as cluttered as it does during the summer time when things are the growing season. But it's just a simple request to clean out the invasives and trim back some of the native plants to a more manageable size. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we did have a site visit, and I'm going to just ask Cinnamon to take us through what she observed there, and then we'll get into some questions.
Sure. We did notice finding honeysuckle, bittersweet, the multiflora rose, that, you know, I think we would be in agreement needed to be removed. I think we would be interested in finding out if it would be manual removal, just working your way through there, taking it out as you see fit. As far as the trees go, we were a little confused about some tags we saw on various vegetation. We saw some red and some orange. We kind of read it as red was remove and orange was prune. Can you?
That is correct. Yes, that is correct. So, yeah, red was remove, and not every single, you know, privet, for example, or bittersweet was marked exactly, but the general areas where there was a high density of them, there were red ribbons. The orange, which were primarily on the choke cherry trees, was really the intent there is to prune them.
Okay. Over when there's the walkway that's on the right, and then you have the driveway on the right. There was a tree to the right of the driveway that it looked like you might have wanted to remove it. We were a little concerned about that.
Yeah, there is a question on that, and you know, I'd love the opinion of the group that was there. There's a cedar tree and there's a cherry tree, which are literally right on top of each other, and there's a utility pole there as well. Is that the area you're referring to?
I don't think it is the same area. The cherry that's on the far left of the driveway does look
the far
like
left.
Yeah, that one looked like it needed definitely some pruning. It was the tree that I don't think we were able to identify, but that I think we were all kind of in agreement that we would like to keep that one there on the right of the driveway.
So as you're facing the driveway on the right-hand side, there is a utility pole there. Okay, so yeah, there's a cedar there. And then there's another there's a choke cherry tree there. So you'd like for us to keep both of them. Could we trim back the choke cherry so the cedar can perhaps thrive a little bit better?
How does the commission feel about that? I don't want to answer for all of us.
So I just to be clear, which choke cherry are we speaking about? There were quite a few in there. So,
Yeah, I think you're referring to the one as you're standing in the road to the right of the driveway, which is on the very north side of the property line.
okay, I think, yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. Is
Okay.
it something that Alex would go out and just do a one more review about what exactly?
Well, let's, Alex has his hand raised, so let's see if he can jump in for a minute.
Yeah, I know there was the black cherry closest to the walkway, your wooden walkway, and then there was the black cherry closer to your property line, to the left, if we're looking at your house. Then I recall there being, I think it was a shad bush that was also flagged closer to the street. And then the cedar. So those were the from my observation, I know the extent of the native trees that were tagged that you would like to prune. So I just wanted to state that for the record.
Yeah, and I would like to see the shad bush left alone and not pruned, because that seemed to be it's a nice bush, and it doesn't seem, it's not an invasive, and you're clearing out wanting to clear out a lot of stuff already. So to my mind, I'd like to see you work on the invasives and tend to leave the natives alone until you see how it looks once the
Okay.
invasives are out.
Right. Yeah. And again, I mean, we're very pleased with the natives. It's just that the invasives, as you might have seen when you were there, are just crowding everything, all the natives out. The cherries themselves, some of them have grown, significantly, and are just seem to be unwieldy. So we would like the permission to trim those back to a degree. And
a couple of those look like they have had not a great pruning job in the past either.
that might have been the case. Yeah, that might have been the case. And again, we haven't been there long enough. But they while they're native, we certainly understand that they have grown out of control. So, some pruning of branches that seem to be, maybe not symmetrical with the way the tree might have been if it was, perhaps taken care of over time, might be, a suggested approach that I'd like to offer up here.
Okay, so I'd kind of like to see that done sparingly,
Okay.
because you are talking about removing, I would guess, the shrub honeysuckle, the vining honeysuckle, the multiflora rose, the bittersweet, and did you say the privet as well?
Yeah, there's some privet there as well, which is invasive. Yes.
Yeah, so that's quite a lot right there without even touching the native plants. So to my mind, I don't want you to, I don't know that you should go too much further than that, except maybe a very light pruning on the cherries and leave everything else alone.
Okay, no, I'm comfortable
Um,
with, I'm comfortable with that. Again, it was just, looking at the cherries by themselves, they are, while they're native and they are, they do add beauty to the property, they are a little unwieldy. So I was, simply requesting that we had the ability to trim them back, just to shape them a little bit more, some of the odd or maybe some of the dead branches as well, or the ones that are dying.
yeah, I wouldn't have trouble with the dead ones.
Okay.
But let's see if there are other comments from the commission here. Anything more from you, Alex?
I just want to make sure I've got this right. So we have limited pruning of the native trees. I know there are some trees and shrubbery along the walkway that the property owner would like to prune back. I think that's certainly reasonable, just from an access standpoint. And then as far as the honeysuckle and the privet, that invasive understory, are we proposing removing all of it, or are we starting with a small section of that area? 'Cause I know from what was flagged, there were certainly more invasives, on the property that were not flagged. So I just want to make sure that we have the scope of work kind of tied up here.
Yeah, and Alex, just to be clear, every single invasive plant was not tagged. It would have been too unwieldy to do that, and too much red tape on the front of the house there. So it was those general areas, but yeah, everything from around the top of the stair, well, not quite even the top of the stair area there, down to the parking area, which is the 100-yard line, and then between that and the road is the area that we want to remove as much of the invasives as we could. Just to clear it out. Then I'm presuming that the native plants would probably fill in those spaces over time.
Thank you. And then do we know who will be performing the work? Is it you as the property owner, or were you looking to have someone else do it?
I haven't determined that yet. It may be me, or we may work with a local contractor.
Okay.
So the other outstanding question is, was this was going to be done with hand tools?
That would be the intent, yes. Yeah, I don't think there's anything very large right now that would require anything beyond hand tools. Correct.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like we have the area defined as basically from the stairway out towards the road in front of the house.
That is correct. Yeah, up right up to the road. Yes.
Okay. And that we're talking about removing through hand pruning the shrub, honeysuckle, the vining honeysuckle, the multiflora rose, the bittersweet, and the privet, and pruning the cherries of deadwood. And
yes, yeah, and the only other thing, and Alex reminded me of this, is that there is a spruce which is now overhanging a walkway that was tagged to be trimmed back as well. I mean, it's a beautiful plant. I would not want to prune it very much, but just for access reasons, we'd like to be able to prune that back a little bit.
Okay, I'm just trying to get through the list here so we can have a motion and have the project defined. So So the area is from the stairs out to the road. That the plants included would be the shrub honeysuckle, the vining honeysuckle, multiflora rose, bittersweet, and privet to be removed by hand, to prune the dead wood off of the cherries, to clear anything that's impinging on the walkway to allow for better access. Does that about cover it?
Yeah, that sounds complete. Yes, thank you.
Okay. So if we might have and with the note that if you want to do more than that, you have to come back and ask. So if we might have a motion for that with special conditions for tree pruning and removal.
So moved.
Somebody. Okay. And a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. Joanne?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yeah.
Mike?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Cinnamon?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. Okay. We're done. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Okay, and now we have a notice of intent filed. Hold on one sec. Okay. Yeah, we have a notice of intent filed by E. Love and Elizabeth H. Park. Applicant proposes to install a septic system to replace existing cesspools at property located at 430 Steel Road, map 04, parcel 121. And who's here to speak on that?
Hi, Stephanie Sequin here with Wilcox. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi. So this is, I'm representing Locke and Lily Park. They're the owners of the property at 430 Steel Road. And this is an application for a septic upgrade. It's a just under 20,000 square foot lot. The front, roughly 2/3 of the property lie within land subject to coastal storm flowage. It's an A zone and the flood elevation is 13. We traced the 13-foot contour and it's a very level site. So there is no coastal bank. It's strictly land subject to coastal storm flowage. DEP does not have a buffer to the flood contour, but your wetlands regulate bylaw has a 100-foot buffer to the land subject to coastal storm flowage. I was able to show a 50-foot buffer, the entire which goes off the site. The entire property is within the 100-foot buffer to the flood zone. There's 2 existing dwellings and a detached garage. Each dwelling has 2 cesspools that I think probably date back to their original constructions. The property is connected to town water. We dug test holes, found suitable soil, but there is a very, as you can imagine, shallow depth to groundwater. So the proposed design includes a pump system and also an IA component for nitrogen reduction. And due to the shallow depth to groundwater and in an effort to maximize the separation between the resource area and the proposed leaching system, the proposed leaching system is shown in the northeast corner where the existing grade is at its highest. So we're able to get the vertical separation to groundwater with the minimal amount of fill. This area, unfortunately, is it's a little more wooded than the rest of the site. So there is some vegetation that is going to have to come down. We are proposing the disturbed area be loamed and seed with a drought-tolerant native grass mix. And we can certainly, if you want to include in your order, the requirement to plant some native shrubs. I'd prefer not to plant any trees here just because of root intrusion, and we don't want to get that too close to the proposed leaching system. So I'm showing a limit of work specifying that a fabric silt fence will be staked in place along the limit of work throughout construction and will remain until the disturbed areas are revegetated. The access to the work area, there are 2 driveways. I think the access will likely be from the existing driveway on the west, just because there's more space between the 2 buildings to get in that way. All excavated material will be removed from the site upon completion of construction. So I think that's about it. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so I think I'm just gonna start here. We were at the site this morning, and I have questions about the cesspools within the LSCSF and whether they can be removed completely instead of just being abandoned.
I'm looking at the 2 in the southeast corner. They probably could, if I'm remembering correctly, though. That seems like it's pretty well vegetated, like with taller shrubs. So it would be, I think, at the expense of some of that vegetation. On the westerly cottage, the cesspool right next to the proposed septic tank is very close to there's a concrete slab, basically like the step to get into the house, and I would just be concerned that trying to remove that cesspool might undermine that slab. And then looking at the 4th cesspool, which is actually on the abutter's property, I think just pumping it and filling it with sand might be less disruptive than trying to excavate the blocks, given that it's on the neighbor's property.
Okay. That seems pretty reasonable, I think.
Good question.
But I had to ask, looking at where you're going to be putting sorry, long day, and I think my brain just spaced there. Where you're going to be putting the SAS, there's a lot of vegetation there, and you just talked about it. So, how much we would like to see, I think I'd like to see some native shrubs replacing what you're taking out rather than just loamed and seeded. So how many were you thinking?
I took a look this afternoon, and I mean, there were a lot of saplings, but I would say there were probably 6 trees that were greater than 4-inch diameter that are going to be within this work limit. So if you would be satisfied with 1-to-1 replacement and I would suggest there's some bayberry out there. I saw holly, some combination of those species maybe.
Okay. So when we were out there, I noticed that there had been some cutting done already at the site. If I'm remembering correctly, some of the saplings had been cut, and there was piles of brush and some trees that had been cut.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Some of it looked like dead branches, so I don't know if they had been trimmed. You may remember the house beyond this one, like to the northeast, was within the last year or two torn down and a new house built. And I believe the access to that work area was from this property. So I'm thinking that that's what that disturbance was caused by. I can't say for sure, but that's my guess.
Because there just seems to be like quite a few saplings that were just cut about halfway up, and then the big piles of brush, which to me doesn't seem like they should be staying there. And that there were some limbs cut in those piles that looked pretty new.
Well,
as
that will
well.
definitely all come out during the installation
Okay.
here.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Since it's all coming out, I don't know that we need to discuss it anymore.
Okay.
Okay. Let me see. Does anybody else have any questions or concerns for Stephanie?
No.
Okay. And since this is an NOI, I'm going to ask if there are any. Oh, Alex, go ahead.
I just wanted to firm up the mitigation for the removal of the 4 trees. Did we quantify the amount of bayberries that were going to go in?
It was going to be a 1-to-1 replacement.
Okay. And it was,
So
we decided on bayberry?
Bayberry and I know
Holly?
you said and yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So any questions from the commission? No. Okay. Any abutters who wish to speak? Okay. Seeing none, if we might have a motion to approve this with a 1-to-1 replacement for the native shrubs with bayberry and holly and okay, I think, and special conditions for septic and sewage upgrade.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Okay, Greg,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
Cinnamon,
Yes.
and I am a yes.
All right. Thank you all very much. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
Thanks.
Okay, and next up is a notice of intent filed by Robert and Maxine Seltzer. Applicant proposes to reconstruct existing pier, ramp, float at property located at 76 Old State Highway, map 22, parcel 010. And we're gonna start this a little differently because we need to discuss the status and history of the dock before we discuss any proposal for a new dock. Reading through the application and going through the dock history, we have a notice of intent that was order of conditions that was issued in 1999 for a permanent dock. In 2006, we have a Chapter 91 license issued for a with a new filing from Coastal Engineering for a temporary dock, one that does not match the plans in the original order of conditions. And then in 2007, we have another plan and a certificate of compliance that was done by Tim Brady that was submitted to the commission, and the COC was denied because the dock did not match the order of conditions from 1999. And so that makes that not a legally permitted dock under the WPA and under the bylaw. Then we get to 2004, when we have a dock where work was done, a significant amount of work, more than 50% of the dock structure, 50% or more of the dock structure, and without a permit. And the owner was asked to remove the dock and then asked to submit a notice of intent for a new dock. And under our bylaw, so first of all, we don't have a legal dock to begin with because we don't have one that was permitted under the WPA and under the bylaw. And then even if you might try to make the case that there is a legal dock, the Chapter 91 license is for permission to have a structure in the tidelands, but that license requires that all other permits be acquired and doesn't give the right to build and install and so on in the wetlands. But even if you make a case for the dock to be legal, it in 2024, 50% or more of the dock was replaced, which triggers our reconstruction definition in the bylaw, which calls for, it says that if 50% or more of a structure is replaced, then it is considered a new structure and must meet all the current requirements of the regulations. And then you're proposing a new dock here with a completely different design in a slightly different location. And that would also trigger as a new dock under the reconstruction definition and under the saltwater dock regulations that were adopted in June 10th, 2025. So I think we need to discuss that before we continue on with the rest of the application.
Okay, are you ready for me then?
I am ready for you now.
Okay, thank you. For the record, Mark Burgess of Shorefront Consulting for the applicant, and Mr. Seltzer is online either by phone or computer, I'm not sure. And I know
I'm
he'd
here.
like to- There he is. And I know he'd like to say a few words after my presentation. So thank you, Madam Chair, for clearing up some of the permitting history. I tried to make the application as detailed as possible to point out kind of the track record of how we got to this this stage of the game. And when the certificate of compliance was applied for in 2007, that owner was notified that the dock didn't conform, and that's why the COC was denied. And then nothing happened, which oddly enough. Now, Mr. Seltzer bought the property in, I think I said 2021. And even when he passed papers, the closing attorneys never told him there was an open order of conditions. So unfortunately, he's inherited all of this previous history without any knowledge to him. So I was hired to work our way through this and come up with a proposal that would try work with everybody to put this dock back in the location that it's currently in. In looking at the first permit and the first permit plan, this is like the third location this dock has been in. So it looked like on the plan, the original location was further to the west, to the right as you were looking at the water. And then it was permitted slightly to the left as you look at the water. And it was permitted, I mean, it was permitted as a permanent dock, yes. And for some reason, the dock started in the middle of the marsh, which makes no sense to me. It had stairs that go down into the marsh. So the only way to access the dock is to go down into the marsh, go up the stairs, and then get to the dock. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I looked at this and I said, well, what are we going to do? Yes, it was permitted as a permanent pier, and it was licensed as a seasonal pier. And who knows when it got converted, or maybe it was always built as a seasonal pier. We don't know. There's not aerials. We don't know. So it's really a kind of a mess that Mr. Seltzer wants to clear up once and for all. I don't agree that putting the dock back in its permitted location or permitted condition is suitable for the environment. So in case, mostly because of the stairs in the marsh, it just doesn't make sense. I don't want anybody walking in the marsh, you know. So when I get projects like this, we look at them and we say, okay, what can we do? We try to come up with a design that, in this case, would mostly, as closely as possible, follow the original design, but keep it in the current location because it's been there for almost 30 years at least that way. And then we also try to upgrade and modify and upgrade the design to meet as many of the current standards that we can. So I gave a very detailed narrative and a very detailed variance request that went through all of your new regulations. And with the exception of about 12, this dock, as currently redesigned, would meet all of those regulations.
Yes, but I'm going to interrupt you because I think you need to address the status of the dock, because you're calling this a reconstruction, and it's not a reconstruction and it's not a permitted dock. So your application treats it as a reconstruction. And before we go into that, I want to establish the status of the dock, because if you're trying to go for a reconstruction here, that does not fit in with the history of the dock, nor does it fit in with the current regulation.
Okay,
so we would expect then to see a filing for a new dock.
Okay, well, the way that I interpreted the regulations and my history of doing this for 25 years now, I would look at this and I'd say, okay, there is a permit that exists for the permanent dock, not in the location that's here now, right? You would agree that a permit exists for a dock in that location, correct?
A permit was issued in 2009. It was a 3-year permit. It's been expired for 23 years.
Correct.
And no certificate of compliance was issued. Therefore, it's not a valid permit. And because there's no certificate of compliance and a dock that meets the order of conditions from 1999, that's not a valid legal structure.
All right. So what if I wanted to, let's see, one of the options, if I didn't put this in the analysis, but one of the options would be, okay, fine, we file for a notice of intent for the work to put the dock in exactly the way it was originally permitted. But I didn't agree with that approach because I don't like the original design, and I didn't think it was advantageous to the resource area. So that's why we went with this approach. If the permit exists for that dock, he could build that exact same dock. Now he'd need a notice of intent for the work, yes, but there is a permit for a dock in that location. I don't even know if it was ever in that location, but you could build the dock per that permit. You would just need a notice of intent for the work.
No, you can't. It's an order of conditions that expired 23 years ago. Therefore, it's not valid. You can't rebuild it.
I understand that.
You can't. If you want to build a dock, you now are required to file for a new dock that meets the conditions of the Wetlands Protection Act, the DEP, and the Town of Eastham Wetlands regulations, including the June 10th, 2025 saltwater dock regulations. And before we go into that, you have not submitted for a new dock. You've submitted for a reconstruction. You've got a lot of, because the dock exists, therefore this, you've got stuff in there where you're putting piles in the salt marsh without asking for a variance and saying, well, we're just going to put them in here, even though our regulations don't allow. So I am saying that I would like to see you file for a new dock under our regulations and not file for a dock that doesn't legally exist, that you can't rebuild because a permit expired 23 years ago. And that's why we're having this discussion before we get into a discussion of your filing, which asks for variations and ignores the regulations and tries to argue that because the dock exists, therefore we get to do this, when it never was a legally permitted dock in the first place.
Well, I didn't interpret it that way. So we're in a bit of a disagreement as to how we interpreted either the regulations or the permits. And again, I mean, I'm not joking here, but when I say that when I come into a project like this, it's a blind date. I mean, nobody has any idea what you're going to find or how to work your way through it. And we just try to pick the best way to make as many people happy as possible and keep it going. Now,
but that's why we have regulations, and
yes,
that's,
of course.
it's not a blind date. We
Well,
have regulations that
was a figure
this
of
is a new
speech.
doc filing, and you haven't given us a new doc filing.
Okay. The other way that I've interpreted the regulations in the past, let's say that somebody has a permitted dock or they have a permit for a dock and they want to reconstruct it to the same permitted configuration, but the order is expired. They might even have a certificate of compliance for it. But a permit exists for a dock in that location. In those,
the permit does not exist for a dock in that
I'm
location.
talking about,
Okay.
I'm just providing
Okay.
a comparison, Madam Chair, that's all.
Mhm.
So in instances like that, you're rebuilding the dock. Now, the permit exists, it could be expired, there could be a certificate of compliance. So what you're asking for is a permit for the work to rebuild the dock, but you're not asking for permission to have a dock in those circumstances. This one's a little more convoluted than that, and through no fault of Mr. Seltzer, this is the juncture that we're at, so we're just trying to pick the best way through it so that he can continue to have a dock on the property.
Mhm.
So that's why
Okay.
I put it in as a reconstruction, because it was there, it's been there, it's still in the driveway. You saw it this morning, you know.
Mhm.
So if I was, I mean, do you want me to reissue a cover sheet that says that it would be a new dock? Because the filing would be no different.
Oh, I think it would be very different, but I'm going to yield to Joanne since her hand is up.
Yeah.
Thanks, Karen. I generally agree with your assessment that we would need to see a notice of intent for a new dock. I'm curious what the other commissioners think. I'm happy to entertain that application. And I think, unfortunately, this conversation we're having detracts from being able to discuss the merits of a new dock application. So just wanted to interject my thoughts on that. And if the rest of the commission agrees, I think we would need to see a new application. Thanks.
Okay. Would anybody on the commission like to speak to that?
I agree with
Greg? Oh, I'm sorry. Was that Chuck?
Yeah, I agree with her.
And this is Greg, I do as well.
Okay.
I do as well.
Mike?
Yes, I agree as well. And I think to your point, Karen, when I looked over the submission, I do think that there would be significant changes that would be needed before we entertained an acceptance of building a new dock. The current regulations don't support what was already presented to us, what has been presented to us on paper. So that's a piece that needs to be done as well by the applicant.
Madam Chair, if I may, if we were to,
I'm sorry. Could you identify yourself, please?
I'm Mark Burgess.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's hard to see you on the, I'm sorry. It's
That's
really
okay.
hard to see you on the screen. I should, and it's been a really long day.
I'm sitting here next to Alex.
Okay. But I can't see Alex, so.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It's very hard to see town hall, so I do apologize.
That's all right. And I know everybody's had a long day, me included. We just, like I said, we're here to discuss this and figure out what to do.
Mhm.
Can I I mean, I don't want to go through the time and the expense of refiling because it would be, for me, it would be the same documents that you have in front of you. Can we just change the title of I can, change the title of the filing. That's all we're really, in my world, that's all that we're really doing. I guess what I'm saying is I wouldn't design the dock any differently than what I have now. Well, if it's a new, but there are some changes that we can make for sure. I tried to make this design as close as possible to the permitted design for those reasons. Now, for
Right, but the
instance,
permitted design doesn't apply here anymore.
okay,
The,
so if we
the
were going to,
formerly permitted, never built without a COC that expired 23 years ago is not relevant to this filing.
okay, so if I was to do that, I could modify the design and come in with a revised plan, and I would change the design in a couple of areas. One, I would increase the pile spacing. 12 feet is, it's very acceptable. A lot of the contractors like it. It makes for a sturdy dock.
You
When
need to reread the regulations on pile placement.
I have read those regulations. I went through them in the variance. They're all there. You could span this marsh entirely without putting any piles in it. It would not be a wooden dock. So those are some of the things that maybe we should discuss tonight so that I know what to do. But so you can make on the project that I did down the road a ways was a reconstruction, and they used prefabricated aluminum spans. Do you remember that project?
Yes, that was
Okay.
before our new dock regulation.
Yes. So those spans come in prefabricated lengths up to 100 feet. So you could span the whole thing. You could span the whole marsh without putting any piles in the marsh with a aluminum section. That can be done. I didn't do that. I didn't go that route in the design because I was trying to stick with the design that was originally permitted. Now, obviously, we disagree in that regard, and okay, I agree to disagree, but that is one of the things I can change. I also wanted to, I also could make the dock a little bit shorter to keep the float in the same place. If I make the dock shorter, the ramp gets longer. If you look at the plan, the ramp is pretty steep because we're going up higher. And that steepens the ramp at low tide. So that's another change I can make, but I didn't do it. I only increased it by 1 foot from 16 to 17 feet because of the raising the dock up 2 feet from its original elevation. So
Okay.
yes, there are some things I can change. I specifically didn't do that because I wanted to stay in character with the original design. So,
And
perhaps we should have
I
that.
also do want to point to the fact that if you're asking for waivers from our regulations, we do have a section in the bylaw on waivers and a section in the regulations on how to file for them.
Okay, again, I thought I was doing that right by requesting a variance.
Joanne?
So again, sorry, don't mean to cut anybody off, but I think we're back in kind of a discussion about details of an application that needs to be revised before we can talk about the details. So I move for a continuance so that the applicant can consider how they want to proceed with this application. I think the commission has recommended a new application. Sounds like maybe that's not what he wants to do, but perhaps they need some time to think about that. But a conversation on the details right now is not something I can wrap my head around because I don't have a responsive application in front of me.
Okay,
I
so
know that the owner
the
wants to
applicant
say-
would have to ask for a continuance, just
Right,
just
and
to note
I
that.
will absolutely do that.
Mhm.
I know that Bob, I think, wants to say a few words. Is this the time that you want to speak,
Yes,
Bob?
yes. Bob could speak if he would like to.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your time and everything. Yeah, definitely we could submit a new application. I think we're just trying to get as much information as possible while everybody's here so we can submit a responsive application. But we, like you said, we'll do that offline and work on that. I just wanted to say, like, my whole goal here for me and my wife is just to make things right. And like Mark said, we when we bought the property, there was no documentation. The lawyers didn't say anything. We had no idea. The dock was there. The person was putting it in, Brian Gibson, had been doing it for a long time, and we didn't understand what was involved. So we just kept putting it in, and but one of the reasons why we bought the property was for the dock. It's very important to us, and not having this past year has really changed the way we use the property, and it also has a pretty significant financial hit for us as well. But we're really trying to correct the past permitting history errors and issues that you described, and we're just hoping to be able to move forward with this. So if submitting a new application is the way to go, then we absolutely want to resolve these issues, and we absolutely want to have a dock that's fully compliant, environmentally reasonable or responsible, and also consistent with whatever the town's expectations are for the town cove. We love it there. It's very important to us, and so we'll proceed accordingly. And we're fully committed to meeting any reasonable condition that the commission feels is appropriate.
I do want to express that I'm sure that everybody on the commission feels really sorry for the fact that you inherited a mess here. And
I mean, I wish I took care of it in hindsight. I wish I took care of it when I bought the property. I just had no clue, and I apologize for that.
It does seem that perhaps the order of conditions was never registered at the Registry of Deeds either. So that would have made it difficult for you to know what you were walking into. But this is the circumstance that we have. We do have dock regulations that we had been working on for a while that did get adopted in June, and that's the framework you have to work within.
Yeah, we understand. I mean, like Mark said, we were looking for the best option to move forward, and that's how we came up with this notice of intent to. We're just trying to restore, what's been there for a long time, and get back to having the dock.
Right,
but I understand it's a new. I understand what you said. Now you've clarified me. Mark's been educating me along the way, and you've educated me even further tonight. So I appreciate that.
Well, I hope I wasn't too harsh, but you do have to adhere to the new regulations, because that is what is in force at this time.
Okay, so
understood.
So Madam Chair,
yes,
it's Mark again. If you can't see me, what I'd like to request is a continuance of this filing so that we can redesign the dock to meet your current standards as much as possible. I don't want to refile because that's filing fees and everything else that have already been paid, but I'm happy to go back and redesign. That's no problem. And we'll come back to you with a revised plan, a revised narrative, a revised variance, whatever we need to do under this filing.
Okay, that sounds like a plan.
Thank you.
How much time do you think you'd like to have? You can change it later, but just to give us a placeholder.
Yep. Well, I have a conflict on December 9th. What's your next hearing after that?
Well, December 9th is also kind of full, and I think the filing deadline would be really.
No, I can't do December. I can't do.
No,
December.
I'm just saying that really isn't an option anyway, given when things would have to be handed in. So
and you're voting
now
on
we're
your
looking at January. Now we're looking at January.
Right. And you're voting on you're voting on that tonight, right?
Yes, but our meetings have a pattern of the second and fourth, generally the second and fourth Tuesday of every month.
All right, let me see what my
so that would put us at January 13th and 27th as the next two meetings.
January 13th and what?
27th.
Oh, 27. I'm free both of those. Let's try for the 13th and see It can be difficult to get, as you know, difficult to get things done this time of year.
Yes.
Let's try January 13, and if I need more time, I will certainly let you know.
Okay.
All right, well, I
we
apologize
should vote
for
on
my
the
misunderstanding.
Okay, I appreciate your willingness to dig in and work it out. And we'll take a vote on the continuance. So we might have a motion to continue to January 13th, 2026.
So moved.
And a second?
Seconded.
Greg?
Yes.
Cinnamon?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Okay. Thank you so much. I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving and a New Year, and we'll see you next year.
See you
Thank
next
you.
year.
Thank you. Happy
Yes,
Thanksgiving.
to you as well. Thank you.
Bye.
Karen,
Yes.
I'm sorry, but I have to leave the meeting early. I think you still have a quorum, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize, but I've got to go.
Okay. Well, have a lovely Thanksgiving,
You
and we'll
too.
see you in
Everybody else.
December.
Good night, everyone.
Great. You have to give me a second while I look. Oh, there we go. The agenda. It always vanishes several times during the meeting. Okay, so, all right. So next up is the notice of intent filed by Stephen Wurst. Applicant proposes to replace existing concrete seawall with stone revetment at property located at 75 Cove Road, map 18, parcel 050A. And they've requested a continuance to December 9th. So if we could have a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Somebody. Okay, a second, please.
Seconded.
Okay. Mike,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
Cinnamon,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Okay, moving on. We have minutes from October 28th, 2025. Has everybody had a chance to look at those? And anybody have any changes, corrections, etc.? I don't see any. If we could have a motion to approve the minutes. Okay, somebody volunteer to make motions for the rest of the night.
I wasn't there.
Okay, and a second.
I'll do it. A motion to approve the minutes for October.
Okay, and a second.
Seconded.
Okay, Joanne,
Yes.
Greg,
I wasn't there.
you can still vote for minutes.
Okay, I vote yes.
Okay, Mike,
Yes.
Cinnamon,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay, and now we're going to talk about the violation at 25 CV Road. And Alex, it's all you.
All right. So just to kind of fill the commission in here, the Conservation Department received a complaint regarding cutting of trees and other vegetation within close proximity to an isolated vegetated wetland adjacent to 25 Seaview Road. I did get out to the site and ground truth this complaint and issued a stop work order on November 11th. When I was at that site visit, I did observe that multiple trees were cut down and there was a substantial amount of wood chips piled up adjacent to the wetland. There was also the storage of some debris near the wetland as well. I was able to talk to both the property owner and the landscaper prior to the meeting. Tonight, we included this property on our site visits this morning, so I know several of the commissioners were able to look at the site in this violation. So at the meeting tonight, we'd like the property owner to speak to the work that's happened, and the commission will determine how to proceed with this violation.
So is the property owner here at the meeting? And you could identify yourself. Alex, who is the property owner?
The property owner is Georgie Sanborn. And then SNK Landscaping was the company that did the work. Adrian Vickers is the owner of that landscaping company.
And I do not see them on the Zoom. Do you?
I do not. So I was told that they would be here this evening. So, and that appears to not be the case.
So I think we need to direct them to appear at our next meeting formally. Would be our next step.
Okay.
So we should have a motion, I think, if everybody's in agreement, to direct Alex to, I guess, it should be in writing, yes, to write a certified letter to the owner and the contractor directing them to appear at our December 9th meeting to address the concerns and possible violations at 25 Seaview Road. And that failure to appear, I think, would be considered a violation of its own. And further action might be taken. Does that sound right to everybody? Joanne?
Yes, and I would move that we send the letter requiring their attendance as you described in your most recent statement, and I'll leave it there.
Okay, is there a second?
Seconded.
Okay, Mike?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Cinnamon?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay, and
Now,
then we
can I add
Yes.
something to this though? Is one of the concerns that I had when I saw the site today is that it's a large amount of wood chips. And those wood chips right now, there's potential for those chips to move their way into the wetlands. Is there anything that we can mandate or that we can do before we actually talk to the owner or to the landscaper?
Well,
That may be a no, but that's my concern because
yeah, we could direct them to remove, but we want to have conditions around it, not just go in and take them away. I think we'd want a protocol. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of going back and forth on that. I can, envision the commission issuing an enforcement order for the removal of the chips and the debris from around the wetland, in a timely manner. But as far as the equipment and the protocols that are used to do that, we would want to ensure that, those protocols wouldn't have any additional negative impacts on that wetland.
Yeah, so supervised in other words. And that's what I was hoping we would be able to do tonight, but they chose not to come. Hillary?
In the letter, we order a silt fence to be erected between the wood chip pile and the wetland.
That's a good idea.
I could see that. I could also see that requiring quite an extensive cutting of vegetation because the wood chips are they're kind of mixed up, in the all the wetland vegetation.
Maybe we could add it to our list of visits for tomorrow and we could devise something.
All right, we could do that.
So I think then maybe we should have a second motion that we've authorized Alex to write the letter, but we should have a second motion that further authorizes him to include in the letter, if he and Hillary deem appropriate after a site visit, some immediate actions to be taken regarding a silt fence or other means to protect the wetland from the piles of wood chips. Does that sound?
Yeah, I would also motion that we include those details in the letter based on the assessment made by Hillary and Alex at the site visit.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Mike?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Alex? Cinnamon? Oh, sorry,
Yes.
Alex. I'm asking Alex to vote. Okay. Sorry, you're just such a natural part of us, and I'm a yes. Okay, so then we have liaison reports. Greg, you went to the forest committee. Would you like to share with us?
They had a meeting on the 18th, and they accomplished their goals for plantings as of for the fall plantings. And they're working on defining the plantings that they're going to perform in the spring. And they have a meeting in January to discuss that issue. And they can always use help fundraising for more money for plantings. That was my impression.
Okay, so the open space met this week, and the forest committee's work was discussed because the chair of the forest committee happens to be also the vice chair of the open space committee, and she's the open space committee's rep on the forest committee, so it's all very cozy. So she said that the forest committee and the Friends of the Forest did some plantings on November 1st, and she sent me a list of the plantings. It was 5 northern red oaks, 13 bayberries, 16 Pennsylvania sedges, and highbush cranberry to close off another area where there had been some high traffic and erosion. They will be following up with a after the fact administrative review filing. So they will know to do a filing ahead of time in the future. Everybody on the committee's kind of new at the moment. And they've been advised to have the committee do the filing rather than the Friends of the Forest Committee, just because it's the town filing, it's no fee permitting. So I've also heard that they have been having some trouble with fundraising, as Greg just said, and I think it might be a good idea for us to be able to offer some funding through our conservation fund for future plantings, because they have used their money to plant in areas that were eroding and to protect openings to Great Pond and close them up outside of their normal planting plan. And we do have some money for that, and that is within the scope of the conservation fund. So the Open Space Committee has had a report of some additional erosion that has channeled at the end of Wiley Park Beach. So if you go to the beach and facing the pond, head to the right at the far end, there's been a social trail there that people have been using that has worn down. And in some of the recent storms, the water has channelized there and made some deep gullies. So the plan is to look at that and see how we can do some mitigation and repair there. That might include some plantings that we might be asked to fund through the conservation fund. So we've also talked about funding for the conservation fund, And there also is a proposal on the table from Rich and Rich Bienvenu, and as part of the wastewater infrastructure, as part of wastewater funding, to reduce the CPA 3% tax surcharge. So CPA is funded through a 3% property tax surcharge. And that money gets a matching amount from the state. And then because we are we have the maximum amount of 3% as the surcharge, we also get funding in rounds 2 and 3. So there's a proposal now to cut that funding to 1.5% and establish a wastewater investment infrastructure fund at a 1.5% tax surcharge. And this was in the wastewater plan that was presented at town meeting. This wastewater infrastructure fund does not get state matching money, but it would provide income to help offset the cost of the wastewater project without further raising taxes. It has the unfortunate impact of lowering the amount of money that the CPA will have to spend on grants. So I did meet with Rich Bienvenu about 2 weeks ago to discuss this, and he said that that amount might fluctuate over time, but he also would be willing to consider supporting funding for the conservation fund for the smaller projects and things that might normally get funded through CPA that have no other grant opportunities, and also to consider if we provide him with projects and do some preliminary cost analysis to include funding for open space and conservation areas in the capital budget. So for the conservation fund, if we get him a list of the small projects and things that we'd like to fund through the conservation fund by January, with some idea of how much some of these things might cost, that he's willing to possibly help us get that funded at town meeting, at the 2026 town meeting. And then I over the next year, with a deadline of September, we could put together a proposal for more permanent funding through the Open Space Committee. Doing that because we have in the strategic plan and in the open space and rec plan that's still in progress, a lot of projects coming up that normally would look towards the CPA for funding, but now with the funding getting lowered, that would be an issue, and there are not a lot of other funding sources. So that's kind of where we are with that. And I have started to put together a list of the projects with the Open Space Committee for the Conservation Fund. And I'm going to ask you guys if you can think about that as well. For our next meeting, I will circulate before that the list that we discussed at Open Space, and hopefully we can get everybody's input and Open Space can finish up with it in December and submit that. See. What else? I think that's probably enough of an update for now. We're going to talk about the CPA application a little bit next, or you think I could just talk about that now while I'm on it?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Open Space Committee, having bought these wonderful kiosks that are now up at Wiley Park, one by the Herring Run on Herring Brook Road, and one inside the main entrance of Wiley near the, I guess it's near the playground picnic area. Alex, you can interrupt.
I will note a recent update on the kiosks. We had some money left over in that fund, And Timber Homes, which is the company that built them, also offered signboards for the kiosks. So at some point in the very near future, there will be Wiley Park signs over the kiosks, which will look really nice.
So the Open Space Committee also discussed that, and we decided that we also probably should put some Town of Eastham branding on the kiosks as well. Because right now it's just got the signs posted up, and it would be nice to have something there that's official, or that also includes a little thing that just mentions Open Space Committee, Conservation Commission, and CPA funding.
Yeah, I think it'll be easy enough to have either the town seal or some other logo in the kiosk, along with perhaps a small, nicely looking printout that formalizes the various groups that worked on this and the funding that provided for the kiosks.
So the kiosk being so nice, and you guys should get out there if you get a chance. Joanne, I can send you some pictures. So the Open Space Committee is applying for more CPA money for 2 additional kiosks, one to go at Cottontail Acres and one to go at the South Eastham Boat Meadow Conservation Area by the Rotary. So they have asked if we might do a letter of support for the CPA application, and I know Alex has already written a separate one, and then you've given us one to look at tonight. I think that's where we are. Did I cover it all, Alex?
Yeah, so I wrote a letter of support, and I guess the commission can either support the letter of support that I wrote, or if the commission would like to write their own, that's also fair game. Perhaps I might have jumped the gun by writing my letter of support so soon. I don't know.
I think it's perfectly okay for you to have a letter of support, and we could have a separate one as well, because you have a role as our agent, but also doing conservation for the town. So it's a little bit different, but very similar at the same time. So what do you guys would like to do here? And I'm just going to say, for the rest of this meeting, I think you can just unmute and jump in, because we're in the informal part of the evening. So yeah, if nobody wants to jump in.
As a side note, I'm very curious as to how Joanne's doing abroad. Separate from all this.
But how about we do that at the end, and we finish with this?
At the end, yeah.
We're gonna come back to. Can we come back to that? We'll finish the meeting, and then we'll come back and ask you.
That was my fault.
That's jumping the gun. So what would you guys like to do with the letter? Would you like to say, let's sign on with Alex, or would you like to have a separate one of support?
Which one would be more, would be stronger?
I think they'd probably they might take either one to be the same letter of support.
Yeah,
actually.
I think the more the merrier.
So you're saying a separate one?
Yeah, I think that would. Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Well,
so would you like me to write that for you guys, for the commission, on your behalf?
You could sign it. You could sign it for us too.
Yeah.
Well, I could do like I did with the public comment letter, writing on behalf of the commission. We having seen the previous kiosks and feel that this is important to support the mission of open space and make it more inviting and educational for the town, that we support this application for 2 additional kiosks or some such.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And the original, the first kiosks have been. I go to Wiley all the time. I'll take a picture tomorrow morning. I'll be there at 8 o'clock because I have a morning walk with a friend of mine. We meet at 8 o'clock with his dogs, and we go right past the kiosk. And I know people have been looking
Yeah.
at them, and they look great and they're very informative. So
They look great, and our regulations are right smack in the middle on a 11 by 17 inch piece of
that's
paper,
right.
and yeah, I think people will appreciate having that because
Yep.
they haven't had information coming in, and I think it'll enhance the experience, but also make it easier for them to follow the rules while they're visiting.
Yes.
So
Agreed.
if you want to make a motion to authorize me to do this, or I could write it and bring it back to you guys at our next meeting.
Don't move.
I
Which
would,
one? Which one?
I make a motion that Karen gets to write a letter or say it's from the commission and that she can send it off.
Okay, is there a
Second
second?
motion.
Okay, so Mike,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
Cinnamon,
Yes.
and Greg,
Yes.
and I'm a yes too. Okay, and let's see what's next. The donation of land at Zero Orchard Road. We were out there this morning, and I know I had to find somebody in that email to talk about it, but
Yeah,
somebody want to tell us?
Sure. You asked me to. This is a
Okay.
very generous donation of 2 acres of flat, undeveloped land that abuts the bike trail, which I think is just a lovely gesture. There was a concern Alex had about whether or not there was some encroachment from an existing dwelling right next to it that I think we need to evaluate. But other than that, I don't think there's a lot to be said except thank you. And to make sure that we have, Alex tells me we have a structure for absorbing a donation like that through the Conservation Commission and to the town of Eastham.
Mhm.
So as long as that process already exists, I think we're in pretty good shape.
Right, so we can accept a donation. We can accept gifts under the Conservation Commission Act of 1957, as long as the select board approves. So they have to agree, and we can accept this. Rich Bienvenu is undertaking to get a site plan and do a title search of the property, so that will help us address the issue of encroachment.
Yep.
The property itself is abutting other undeveloped, nicely wooded lots over there that have been on the Open Space Committee's priority land acquisition wish list for a long time. So, and it also would be the only public conservation area that people could in that area. So that it's near the Tea Time property, it's near the housing at Dory Lane, it's off the bike trail, and it's landlocked. So you can only access it. It's only accessible by foot or bike, which I think is kind of cool as well.
Yeah, so I guess procedurally, yeah, this is the first time I've navigated this. Rich has indicated that they would like the Conservation Commission to vote to accept this donation prior to the select board.
That makes sense.
So whether or not that's tonight, or if we want to wait to a future meeting until we get the additional information, such as the title search and whatnot.
Yeah, well, I think we should wait for the title search and the site plan, and then there's the discussion of what the deed restrictions might be. And I think before we accept the property, we want to be able to review those.
Agreed.
Very good.
Yes.
So I think at this point, perhaps, we can continue this to a future meeting. I don't have a date in mind, but just know that this will be on an agenda most likely sometime in the early new year.
Well, Rich is working on it. I think that maybe you should let him know that we do want to review the deed restrictions before it's going to be a done deal, and also the site plan and so on.
Yep.
And then once we do this, and I think the select board will agree to let us accept the donation, that once the title is transferred, we can decide if we want to also add a conservation restriction to the property.
Yeah.
But
And
that's a step later on.
I can also speak to kind of like the habitat value. I mean, it's as was previously mentioned, it's all upland, so there's no no wetland resource areas on the parcel, but it is very healthy. Upland, pitch pine oak, habitat with the. From what I saw this morning, I haven't walked the entire parcel, but it looks like a almost completely native understory of either huckleberry or low bush blueberry. So it is, it's good habitat.
And then what's left? The 2026 meeting dates and filing deadlines. And I admit I have not had a chance to actually look at those before the meeting. Anybody have any comments on any of it? Okay. So, yeah. Do we need to vote on that?
Yes, I think we would vote to accept.
Okay. Let me just, if you give me 1 second so I can.
Yeah, I know. I kind of briefly skimmed through it. I'm assuming later in the year. Do we also have one meeting next November and December?
So we have 2 meetings in November next year,
Okay.
the 10th and the 24th, and 1 meeting in December on the 5th.
Okay.
The 5th? We have a December 5th meeting? That's weird.
Yeah, it does make sense. Maybe the week after.
Because we usually do the 2nd and 4th Tuesday in December.
4th. This will be the
5th.
14th.
Yeah.
December 14th.
Oh,
Hi, actually, that meeting would be December 8th. Because the 1st is on a Tuesday.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at Monday. Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be the 8th.
So I can make that change.
Yeah, so we can vote with that change to come. Okay. And nobody has any other concerns here? Okay. Thank you for putting this together, Amy. It must have taken some time.
Yeah, I'm getting used to it though. And you're welcome.
You couldn't give us like a week off, an extra week off in August, maybe?
I try, Karen. I try.
I know, but it is nice to only have 1 meeting in December.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So if we could have a motion to approve the meeting dates for 2026 with the change from December 5th to December 8th.
So moved.
And a second?
Seconded.
Okay. Mike,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Cinnamon,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. And wow. Okay, so now we get to interrogate Joanne a little bit about how her move has gone and how you doing.
How am I doing? Well, let's see. It's between 85 and 90 degrees here every day. So I don't know if you're jealous or not about that, depending on what kind of weather you like. The traffic here is crazy. I liken it to summer season when you have a lot of folks who don't understand how traffic circles work on the Cape. If you picture that in your head, that's about what it's like. Luckily, I have gotten my air shipment. I think Alex knows about the stuff, but my 250 pounds of air shipment came. So I've got my East Ham blanket. With me. I've got an East Ham sticker to put on my old beat up 1999 Toyota 4Runner that I bought locally. So I will be repping East Ham in West Africa.
You need
yeah,
to find
so
you need to find a really cool place to take a picture of that. Send it to us.
The sticker? Yeah, that's a good
No,
idea.
the car with the
Oh, the
sticker.
car with the whole thing? Yeah.
Yeah, with some background. So I think that would be
Absolutely.
fun for us. I don't know if it's fun for you, but it would be fun for us.
Maybe we should start like a social media thing, Eastham stickers around the world. I bet you we've got people all over the place.
That'd be pretty cool.
I'll start it.
Okay.
What
Almost
time
like
is it
mailing
there?
Flat Stanley around the world.
Yeah, exactly.
What time is it there?
You don't want to know. It is 2:45 in the morning.
Oh my. So we want to say thank you very much.
Thank
for doing
you.
this.
Thank you.
Well, you guys, this helps me keep plugged into my community, and it's actually a good way to stay connected with folks. So I appreciate it. I appreciate seeing all your faces on a bi-monthly basis.
And I will tell you that this meeting is actually shorter than the meeting Alex and I had last week to discuss this meeting by a good hour.
Boy.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we're probably done. Thank you, everybody. I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving.
Same to
everyone.
you.
Thank you. All to you too.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Take care. Thank you.
Have a good night
And
and good morning.
Wait a minute, wait a minute. And if somebody would make a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. Mike?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Cinnamon? Greg?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
All right.
Get some sleep.
Good night.
Okay. Good night,
everybody.